Remember to.
Room is unmuted.
Lou was my neighbor.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Robinson.
Yes.
You need one more person.
She was sort of. It's all that's from some students. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. This first meeting of the town council, what is it, 2024 down session, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Belson, here. Baskaludi. Moranti. Nissan. Morris. Here. Fernhagen.
Here.
Roberts. Here. Roney.
Here.
While you're attending-
I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. And the reason for being virtually, just for the record,
I am currently driving on my way to City Hall. I just ran late because of work.
thank you.
Sauer. Bolo.
Here.
President Pietro.
Here.
Quorum present.
So can I have an introduction and second to receive the call of the meeting? Margaret, second. Gary. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. We have one communication to receive and put on file. Can I have a introduction and second to receive the communication? Jennifer and Gary. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Can you read the communication?
Sorry.
Are you gonna read it?
No, I don't have it handy, and, he didn't ask me to do it.
Okay.
It's there, it's on the documents for this,
I read it.
oh, okay,
One.
yeah, okay. No, it's on the website, if anybody wants to, read it, and it's the, summation is on our, agenda. It objects to the Hudson Housing Authority's proposed expansion plans, which is not really the subject of our resolution later, but we'll get into that. First, we're gonna reverse the resolution. The first resolution is authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with Transatlantic Group, Inc. to conduct a falling weight deflectometer testing for the streets in the city. Can I have an introduction and a second? Margaret and Rich.
Does anyone have any questions on this?
I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
Deflectometer.
No.
That's my question. That's my question.
That's great. That's your only question?
What is it? I mean,
Okay, so I can tell you what this is. So, in our discussions, when I met with Jason in his role as commissioner, we met with DOT. And one of the things that we talked about was actually assessing and quantifying the weights that the streets can bear. Because there are various limitations on what we can do, but we need to have kind of, very specific information on, what the subbed is. And there are a couple of ways to do this. The most disruptive is drilling into the road bed and figuring out what it can bear. This, equipment there are not that many of them available. There happens to be a company doing a project in Pennsylvania right now. This equipment assesses what the street can bear by, it's a dropping weight thing, and then it looks at the deflection from the weight hitting the street.
Great.
And it will give us information about, to help us predict potential repair needs, because right now we can't use chip, but every 10 years. It will help us look at costs and also help us quantify the DOT. This is the issue that we're having. So that's, and we have the money in it from the grant money that we got from GE.
Great.
We have approval to use it from there. So it's all good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did we get any competitive bids?
There was only, there was one other company that also recommended this, and then Jason, and they said, yeah, that's the way to go, but we don't have the equipment. This particular company has this equipment, but they're actually based out of Texas. They happen to be in Pennsylvania right now,
Mhm.
and they'll be finishing up in a week or so. So, they would be able to do it before returning to Texas.
Mhm.
If we have to get somebody to come back, it would be a much more expensive proposition.
And would we find out the same information by drilling?
Pretty much, yes. And this is actually, the engineers told Jason that this is the preferred method.
I understand, but we would still get pretty much the same.
Yes.
And the cost difference?
We didn't get a cost on drilling because it's not the preferred method.
Mhm.
But this was what was recommended even by the company that didn't have the equipment. And Jason researched it, so, it's, I think, going to give us very valuable information. As I say, we have the funds available in the truck grant that we got from DD.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Councilmember Feldman. Aye. Morris, Carnhagen,
Aye.
Roberts. Aye. Roning,
Aye.
President Pedro.
Michael, is there any other council member online, or can't read all the names?
No, just right.
Thank you. The second resolution supports, an application to round eight of the Restore New York Communities Initiative for the Hudson Housing Authority Redevelopment Project. Can I have an introduction in a second, please? Margaret and Gary. Okay, before we have any discussion, this is not a comment on whether this project has many, many hurdles to overcome, a long way away. This is just support their application for a very small part of their funding, $2 million to be precise, I believe.
Yep.
That being said, any questions, council members? Jennifer?
If we are voting yes on this, aren't we then voting yes for the proposal as it stands?
No, definitely not.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely certain. And I think Jeff made that clear when he was, Jeffrey Dodson, who was the head engineer, made that clear. Right, it's not tied to, the existing proposal is still just a proposal. You know, no design features have been settled on, even the numbers aren't necessarily what they are in this stage of the proposal. No, so it does not require this proposal.
So bottom line, what is this proposal calling for?
It's asking the state restore grant fund to contribute to the development of the,
Established, or the,
right, for the properties at Bliss Towers,
And specifically for phase one.
for phase one, yes.
Mhm.
so we're
And-
agreeing to declare. phase one?
Jeff Dodson is here in case the question requires his answer. Go ahead, Jennifer, please.
So by voting yes, we would be voting yes to their proposed phase one.
I don't think so. Jeff, you want to answer that? You're muted if you are there. Jeff?
Question?
Yeah,
I'm just, curious, what is, if so, what would be the problems with proposal in stage one?
I just have so many.
I'm sorry.
questions.
I'm sorry, I was looking for my the question.
yeah, the question is, if we support your grant, is it tied to the current definition or proposal for phase one?
Meaning it's for the demolition part of the project?
Right, this is only tied to the demolition. Thank you, Jeff, I forgot, that's the.
Well,
it's just-
no,
oh, pardon me?
no, it's up to 2 million and it's
Right.
more than, there are components of it that go to demolition. But I think in this application, Jeff, that you have to submit your proposal for the project.
Jeffrey, can you answer that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question. Could you repeat it?
Did you say again, please?
Jeff, my understanding, this is for applying for up to 2 million in monies for the project. And there are limits on how much money can be used for demolition. Yes, a component of it could be used for demolition. But as far as I understand it, you have to submit your proposal for the project as part of your application.
We do have to submit information for the proposal, but it's my understanding that it had to be earmarked for demolition because there are only certain types of projects that they will approve of by the guidelines.
So this money is specifically for demolition.
Yes, of Bliss and Columbia.
That was not my understanding when I read the round 8 funding. What it could be used for. There are limits on how much can be used for demolition, but it can be used beyond demolition. So for example, when we were looking at the proposals last year, the funding from Restore New York was not just for demolition for the project down on the riverfront. So what written into the rules for Restore New York are there's this limit for demolition, this limit for whatever. So there are pathways that the money can be used for, but it is not limited under the rules of Restore New York to demolition.
So Jeff, I don't know if you followed that.
I'm gonna try and pull up the Restore New
Yeah,
York thing,
but-
you know.
So I'm not sure, Margaret, you're saying it's not limited to demolition,
No, it is not.
but that doesn't mean.
And if
Yeah.
it's not limited to demolition, then that's great. But from my understanding, it had to be like it cannot be for new construction. And so because of that, we proposed that part of it in our application. I know Michael's there. Michael, can you elaborate on that part at all?
Yeah, so the allowances for demolition that Margaret are referring to are based on the per property.
Correct.
So my understanding is that because this project involves so many different properties, there isn't the $2 million would not be hitting that maximum.
And Restore is not to build.
And Restore is specifically meant
Not to
for,
build.
not to build new. It also doesn't support green space development. It's very specific on what the funding would be applied to.
Yeah, and also the criteria for Restore, with regard to buildings, are for vacant, abandoned, surplus, and condemned. Those are the 4 criteria. And Jeff, we discussed this yesterday. This project doesn't meet those criteria because this ours is neither vacant nor abandoned, surplus nor condemned. So, you know, there's a good probability that the state will say no to this anyway. I do have concerns with voting yes on this, not so much that I don't think it actually fits the criteria, because the state, and Jeff, this is what we said yesterday when we talked, the state, up to the state to decide whether they think this meets criteria or not. They can just say no. The concerns I have really relate to the fact that we're asking for grant money and the application has to come from us, for a project where we don't really have detail yet, because it's still in very early stages. Issues relating to pilots, on issues relating to what the costs are going to be, not in the construction piece, because the whole funding scheme that has to come from that will be coming from private investors. But we don't really have information on what the cost to the city will be, because we don't know yet what the pilot numbers are gonna be, we don't know what services costs are gonna be with the increase in the number of people when the whole project is done. And you know, I think to Jenny's point, we just have there's a lot more that we need to know about the project as a whole. Do we need to demolish and replace Bliss Tower? We absolutely do. And there was an attempt to do that a few years ago, and now that's long overdue for that to happen. But is this the only approach to doing it? Could there not be an approach that looked at some kind of rent to own situation? That as presented, one of the buildings is 7 stories high. We know that the soil on that location, and it was looked at before, that presented a major problem. And I think one of the reasons this project is so expensive is because of the need to put in girders and so forth and stabilize it for a 7-story building. So to me, there are just a lot of questions out there that we still don't have answers to.
A lot of questions that the state would have to answer, right?
No,
Well, not the state, but the state will have to give them the permission to get this started, right?
No, the developers need to come to us with information.
No, I think
Yes, but what I'm saying is, if we're not gonna vote on supporting or even supporting their application, then what are we gonna do? We're just gonna continue
Well,
that this.
This 2 million is, first of all, I think there's a good probability they won't get it. But this 2 million is not, whether they do or do not get this grant. The project itself, as currently shown, is about 110 million for phase 1. This is not going to either ensure that the project moves forward or prevent it from moving forward, because it's a tiny piece of what needs to happen.
I understand that, but this is the reason why they want us to support them or help them get it authorized, right?
Well, see, that's my whole problem is that I think that in voting to support this application, we are in essence voting to support what has so far been presented to us as the plan for phase 1, without enough information to be able to say affirmatively, yes, I am in favor of how this has been laid out. That's the issue. And also, none of this has to come back to the planning board, because public housing, it does not require planning board or zoning board of appeal review or approval. So by voting for this, we're essentially saying, yeah, we think, yes, phase 1, we are in favor of phase 1. And that's.
Can I interject something?
Yeah.
Can I interject something? What you're voting to support the housing authority and moving forward with trying to build better housing. What you're really voting for today is the fact that the current housing situation is not safe. It is not adequate, and something needs to be done. And this is what's going to assist us. So to kind of, opine on what could be or what might not be, there will be a point where we get to a part where we have to make a decision on, we have to make a decision on, and the city has to make a decision on, and the planning board has to make a decision on, of how we go forward with the program. The state actually governs that. So what you're really voting for today is to do better for the residents at Hudson that currently live in those conditions, who've been in this situation and have repeatedly gotten to this point, or not even this far, and the plan has gotten kicked back. So in that case, I urge everybody to vote yes. Like, it's not, yes, you're gonna have plans. Yes, I'm open and we can have discussions, but what you're really voting for is something to move forward so we can do better for the citizens of Hudson that live in that area.
Yes. Let Margaret, let Jennifer, then you can go.
Jeffrey, can we have Montco and HHA come back so that we can ask some more questions? Because after sitting with this for a week, I've got more questions. And I'd love to have them answered. It's a really large project and I just want to get it right.
I'll
Sure.
come back, we will come back to the council anytime they want to see us, but I need everybody to be clear. Like, it should not be held up because you're concerned about what the project may be. Like, there's governance to this. And the reality of it is that we need to keep up with the times and we need better housing in Hudson. That's why I came, that's why I took, and that's why we should, so I'll come back and answer all the questions you want. But right now, we need to make it makes no sense to not support the decision to try to access money that is available for us, rather than say no. It would be a slap in the face to the residents of Hudson that live in that building.
And this is Ravonda, if I can just jump in second, Jeff. It starts here. It starts with all of you guys, literally. It starts here. We need your support tonight. We need you guys, and we need everybody to be in alliance. And it starts here. This is the starting ground for us. Everybody knows. Lola knows. I hear you, Lola. Thank you so much. Roni, D1. I can keep going on and on.
Okay,
That's all I
Margaret.
want to say.
Thank you, Ravonda.
Jeff, when we met yesterday, I specifically asked about the planning board. And the response was that the buildings themselves do not need to go before planning board or zoning board of appeals. Only the proposal with regard to pedestrianizing block of State Street and the Lombard Street development would need to go before the planning board.
No, for us.
Sorry,
That come for us.
the pilot would have to come before us.
And the street, we have.
Oh, no, the street, I'm talking of the buildings.
All right.
But Jeff is saying.
No, I
you
think the
have to
streets
go-
would come before
Right,
us.
yeah, but Jeff is
Is that
saying the
planning board?
buildings would have to go before the planning board.
Gotcha.
That is not correct for public housing, and that's not what was said yesterday.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is that we're not trying to make some covert action here. You know, we're going to be forthright. We have public meetings. We're going to talk to folks. And again, there's governance by the state. We're not just going to build some outrageous building. It has to go through a process. And so, you know, to intimate that you're not going to have any say so in it as citizens is not a true statement. However, but just like Ravonda said, the time is now for you to speak up for the residents in Hudson that are poor, that are underserved, that need better. It's long overdue. The building is completely dilapidated, and something needs to be done.
Harry, you want to say?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I don't think anyone is, I think I won't speak for the entire committee, but I think that we're all for getting to the bottom of this. I think the concern that some of us have is just exactly what is it that we're voting on tonight. And it's, and Margaret has stated that essentially we're approving phase one by this resolution. Now, what do you
You're
say?
not. You're approving the support. You are approving the support of our application going to the city to acquire funds. If for some reason we don't get approval, after we get the funds, if we don't get approval to go forward, the project won't happen anyway. But we need funding. And you're sitting there right now concerned about how much money is going to come out of the taxpayers' pocket. So why not help assist us and get free money? It doesn't make sense. So all you're voting for tonight is to support our Restore application and allow Restore to determine if we meet the guidelines, if they want to give us the money, and then we go to the next phase. It doesn't mean it's a guarantee. And so from my understanding, there's Restore money sitting that hasn't been used that, you know, by the city, and projects go on and on and on. My concern, and I apologize, I would have been there tonight, but I had to travel for a conference. So I literally just landed and got on the phone. But I would have literally been there tonight so that you can see my concern. And I shared this with Margaret, and I like to share it with all of you. This is not just some project that, you know, we want to do just to be doing. This is for me, it's a real concern. I was a resident of public housing for 23 years. This is what the people deserve. These places were built in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1970s. Where I grew up was built in 1939. It is time for new and improved housing. We have a physical needs assessment that supports the fact that the building is not sustainable. And we're debating about whether we should move forward on helping people or not. I don't understand that.
We're not
No, but
debating.
that's what it feels like though. That's what and I have to be very honest. That's what it feels like.
If I may,
Ryan.
I just want to echo a lot of the feelings that Margaret, Jennifer, and even Gary has. I have very similar concerns about how this project will proceed. I think there needs to be established like checkpoints where not only the council, but the city will have their say about, you know, not only because this is such a large project, it will have an effect on how the city will be for the next, 20, 30 years. But at the same time, I look at this vote as more of a moral support from the council that yes, we do need housing, affordable housing, and that is an integral part of the future of Hudson. If we don't have enough affordable housing within Hudson, the city will become even more of a hollow version of itself that we have seen in the last 10 to 15 years. So while I'm not satisfied with the proposal that has been brought forward as it stands now, I will urge all of you that are present today to show the moral support for the people that are doing the work in bringing the affordable housing that is direly needed in the city. So I totally understand many of the concerns. I have very similar concerns, and I would like from Jeffrey and even the company, the developers represent, to help us help you make this into a better project that really checks the boxes for everybody that's living here right now. So that's
Thank you, Ryan. Are we ready to vote? I will say before we vote, once again, this is to Margaret made it right. They may not get the grant if it doesn't follow guidelines. I assume they've talked ahead of time with state about
We're only at this point because ESD approves our application.
so their ability to apply, I should say. Okay, let's go. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
I'm gonna say that I'm conflicted. And I did write something.
What do you mean conflicted?
I feel conflicted in my heart. I'm hoping that Jeffrey and HHA and Mount Co will come back and talk to us and be open and hear what our opinions are as it moves forward.
Mhm.
If this is just for demolition, as he said, I will vote aye.
Morris.
No.
Hagan.
Aye.
Roberts.
Aye.
Roney.
Aye.
Wallo.
To echo everything that Margaret has said, I have deep concerns about this. That much controls to the Hudson City taxpayers. And, I helped pass a housing tax code document years ago that said to not concentrate, low-income housing in the area. No.
President Pietro.
All right,
Resolution is defeated. I vote 5-2.
okay.
Is it because the absentia counts as?
Yeah, they're negative. That's it then. And motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Oh.